How to build a grand Xebec. So this is one of the primary ship types in the new Rise of Atlantis Pirates release. So this is something that I've been looking forward to for a while now, and we're going to see how it's built. There will be instructions in the package too if you buy one. So by the time you're watching this product, Rise of Atlantis, a collaboration between myself and Vindaga Games, will be available at the store at Pirates with Ben, and there will be a link in the description to purchase. So we're going to pop it out here. This is actually the first printed one that I've built. I've built some blank ones, of course, to do laser cut testing and whatnot. And I'm actually, the one you're going to get is very likely to be a little bit better and cleaner than this one, at least with some of these lines. Like I forgot to put laser cut lines in these little slide-in slots. So I'm going to make some improvements to the cut grid today, just to finalize some better cut outlines, but hopefully this one will build pretty well and just as well as the blank styrene copies. So it should theoretically build just as well as the blank ones, but the ink can affect the cutting a little bit. Usually I go with a little bit more power once there's ink on the styrene, basically. So punch out the oars. It's a 3-card ship, and credit to Vindaga Games for making this ship. I just made some various edits to it just to improve printability and constructability. Did like some 3D printed prototypes and changed a few things, and now it's ready to build and play. So that's really exciting. So start with, we got our deck. So basically there's an element of it that's a little bit similar to the long ships where you have these slide-in tabbed slots. So those are going to go towards the bow, and then this tab here is going to go at the stern into this slot right there. And that one I purposely made smaller because before this slot was bigger and you couldn't see the name at the back of the ship. So I might adjust it even more a little bit, probably not too much more. And one thing you want to be careful of is these tabbed like slide-in slots, is making sure that they don't pop off, basically. So one thing that could help with that, oh yeah, see, it just popped off. Interesting. Yeah, that didn't happen on the blank one, so I'm pretty surprised. That might be a difference in the styrene from what the printing company used versus the blank styrene. But normally it would be better to, that's what I should have done, is put this in here to kind of widen that a little bit. Before I do that side, I'm going to make sure I do that on the other hull piece. That's kind of similar to some of the original Wizkids ships, is basically using an extra or spare piece of styrene or just part of the ship to widen some of the slots to make sure that they'll go in properly when you need them to. So all right, so put that through. I think it'll still work. Yeah. So even if that happens, you'll probably still be fine. This holds with that curve even without that slide-in slot to keep the bow in place. I think it's going to hold anyway. So that's kind of a nice plus, because it's still got a little bit of that tab there. It looks like just enough for it to work. So I'm going to go ahead and do this next side preemptively. And then, yeah, that's probably the trickiest part of this build. So, and yeah, you'll want to have that extra styrene out of the slot so that when you push this hull part back from the bow, it has room to fit that styrene through there, just like that. So now I move that back, so this is up towards the bow now, and now you can see most of that slot is actually open. And now that that's pushed back, this tab towards the stern can actually snap right into place pretty much in the perfect spot. So that worked out pretty well for the most part. Yeah, I was still surprised to see that tab break. That was actually kind of strange to me. Didn't feel like I was really going that hard on it, but I guess that's part of the reason I make these videos, is so I can kind of test these things in advance, obviously, and give you tips as to little things to watch out for. So, all right, yeah, I'm thinking maybe the styrene that the printing company acquired is like, for some reason, a tiny bit weaker than some of the blank stuff I was using. I'm not sure, but And then so for the quarterdeck is a pretty big piece actually. And this is kind of a new thing. This is not like any other ship, I don't think, so far at least, is it's a slide-in quarterdeck instead of like a top-down tab-in quarterdeck. So the angle might seem funky at first, but once you get these slots lined up, you can pretty much just push it in, and then that basically preserves the curve at the stern of the ship. And these are pretty deep slots. You can slide it, you can hear it keep going in. So you can slide that way in, and that's kind of how it's supposed to be. So there's a decently significant curvature at the stern of the ship that goes all the way back on it. So, and of course I haven't pre-widened these slots for the mast yet, so there is a chance I'm gonna have to take something off to put these in. I'm just gonna give it a quick shot first, just to see how this goes. I think I didn't need this on the blank styrene, but I think, yeah, I can tell that I don't want to go any harder on that. So I'm just gonna take this core deck back out. Normally you would do this first. I guess maybe it's a flawed instruction, but yeah. So this way you can see that mask going there in isolation. And then now that we've done it in isolation to widen the tab, I think I'm going to do that with the other masks real quick too before I put the core deck back on. So, and then the way these masks are, basically, if I remember right, the first one is bigger than the third mast. So I think it'll go like that. I'll just make sure here. So the masts, of course, go towards the port bow, is the way they're angled. That one's really nice, perfect tightness there on that one. I'm just gonna do each one in isolation to take my own advice. So you don't have to do it this way, but this is kind of like maximum safety way to build the ship, is to do each in isolation to make sure they're wide enough to take the mass instead of doing them once all the other parts are completed, because then you kind of just have less places to put your fingers, and then if the slot's too tight, that's where you might run into problems. If you try to force it when everything else is already in place, that can be a little bit problematic at times. And one way to do this quarter deck too, if you wanted to, is to put the mast in and then put the quarter deck in with the mast already on it. So that might be better. Let me see. Again, this is, I'm pretty sure, the first printed, definitely the first finished printed copy of this ship that I've built. So I try not to waste any copies getting, I don't really need multiple punched copies for myself. So, all right, so that went in well, just like that. So I just had to insert it in isolation to kind of pre-widen it. So then we'll do that mass there. And then we've got the big mass. These might be another reason to put these in isolation first, is because they are quite close together. So it's good to kind of make sure they go into the deck, and then afterwards, now we can put the whole thing together. All right, so we got the smallest mast in front, and that completes Trojan. This is the Grand Xebec from Pirates: Rise of Atlantis by A7X Van Ben and Vindaga Games. So check out the link in the description to buy it. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more build videos.